The deep space mining ship Aurora drifted like a wounded bird in the endless dark. Her engines were broken, her fuel was almost gone, and her crew was running out of hope. Inside the ship, the air felt heavy. Every crew member knew what it meant to be stranded this far from home. There was no planet nearby, no friendly station, no known ship in range. Only silence and stars that looked cold and distant. Captain Elias stood at the command deck, his face calm but his eyes showing the weight of responsibility. He knew his people trusted him. He also knew he had very little left to offer them. Supplies were down to half, oxygen filters were wearing thin, and the ship's power core was unstable. He looked at the communications officer and gave the order that no captain ever wanted to give. Send the call. Tell them we need help. The officer's fingers moved across the panel, his hands shaking just a little. Then a voice filled the empty control room. This is the human ship Aurora. We are stranded near the Kepler edge. Our engines are failing. We need help. If anyone can hear us, please respond. The message went out into the dark. For a moment, everyone on the deck just listened to the silence that followed. Nothing came back. The sound of the static felt louder than the words they had spoken. A few crew members exchanged nervous looks. They knew the truth. Out here, signals often traveled for light years before anyone caught them. The chance of a reply was close to zero. But still, hope was a strange thing. It made people wait. The captain gave a slow nod. Keep the channel open, he said quietly. The crew went back to their work, though everyone's thoughts stayed with the unanswered message. Hours passed. The stars outside did not change. Time in space could feel endless. Some of the younger crew started whispering to each other. Do you think anyone will hear us? One asked. No one lives this far out, another replied. We are alone. But before despair could settle completely, something happened. The communication panel lit up. A sound broke the silence. At first, it was only static, loud, broken, and strange. Then slowly, a voice came through. It was not the voice of any human. The tone was too smooth, the rhythm too precise, the sound almost musical. Yet, against all reason, it spoke in perfect English. We heard you. The crew froze. Every head turned toward the panel. The officer's eyes widened. Captain, he whispered. The voice continued. Calm, slow, and chilling. We know your call. We are coming. For a long moment, no one spoke. The bridge was silent except for the steady hum of the failing ship. Captain Elias's heart pounded in his chest. His training told him to be cautious. His instincts told him this was no ordinary reply. Who are you? The captain asked carefully. But the line went dead. Silence filled the ship once more. The crew looked at each other, fear mixing with hope. They had asked for help, and someone, or something, had answered. But who had heard them? And what did it mean that the reply came in their own language? The youngest crew member, a girl barely 20, whispered the question that everyone else was afraid to ask. Captain, are they friendly? No one had an answer. Outside the windows, the stars looked the same, but the silence now felt different. The emptiness was no longer empty. Somewhere in the dark, something was moving toward them. Something that had heard their cry. Something that spoke their words. The captain gave a slow breath, then turned back to his crew. All stations stay alert, he ordered. His voice was steady, but his eyes betrayed the storm inside. They had reached out for help. Now the unknown was reaching back. Minutes passed like hours. Every sound on the ship seemed louder. The hum of the broken engines, the soft hiss of recycled air, the faint creak of the metal walls. The crew waited, their eyes fixed on the radar screens. The officer kept checking the comms, hoping for another reply, but none came. It was as if the voice had been a dream. Then, just as doubt began to creep in again, the radar beeped. A contact appeared at the edge of their range. It was large. Very large. Too large for any human ship design. The reading made the officer's hands shake. Captain, something is coming. The crew leaned forward, staring at the glowing on the screen. It was real. Someone had answered. The Aurora, once quiet with despair, now filled with whispers. It can't be human. Nothing human is that big. Maybe it's a station? No. It's moving. The dot on the radar grew closer with every second. The captain's heart sank and soared at the same time. They had asked for help. And now, help was on its way. But what kind of help? Who had spoken to them? And why did the voice sound like no human, yet speak their language so perfectly? Outside, the stars shone cold and distant. But now, somewhere among them, an answer was coming. And it was beyond anything the crew of the Aurora could have imagined. The contact on the radar grew larger with every passing second. The crew of the Aurora watched in silence, their eyes fixed on the glowing signal moving closer. Fear and hope fought inside every heart. They had sent a call for help, and something had answered. But what if the answer was not salvation? What if it was doom? The ship trembled slightly as the failing engines shifted under the weak power supply. Captain Elias stood tall, his eyes locked on the screen. "Range?" he asked. The officer swallowed hard before replying. "Still at long distance, but closing fast. Estimated arrival. 20 minutes. 20 minutes. That was all they had before they met whoever, or whatever, was coming. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Some tried to smile, to reassure each other, but their hands betrayed them with small shakes and restless movements. The youngest crew member whispered under her breath, "It's too big. Nothing human is that size." No one corrected her. Everyone could see it. The readings were impossible. The incoming ship was massive, far larger than any vessel in the human fleet. Not even Earth's biggest carriers could match what the radar displayed. Slowly, the unknown presence revealed itself as a shadow against the stars. At first it was just a blur, a dark blot moving through the endless night. Then details began to form. Strange glowing lines stretched across its hull, like rivers of light running across a giant body. The ship was long, curved, and elegant, but also frightening. It did not look like something made of steel and metal. It looked alive. The crew leaned forward at the windows, unable to tear their eyes away. Fear grew heavy in the air. "That's not a human ship," someone whispered. "Then who are they?" another asked. No one answered. Captain Elias finally spoke, his voice low but steady. "All crew remain calm. We asked for help. Let us see what comes." The Aurora's weak lights flickered, as if even the ship itself felt uneasy about the approaching giant. Every second stretched like a lifetime. The alien vessel slowed as it neared, but even in slowing, it felt immense, powerful, and unstoppable. Then, without warning, the communications panel lit up again. The same voice returned. "Calm. Gentle. But inhuman. Do not fear. We heard you. We are here." The words echoed in the bridge. Every crew member froze. It was English again, but it sounded wrong, too precise, as if a machine was translating perfectly without understanding the emotion behind the words. Captain Elias leaned toward the panel. "This is Captain Elias of the human ship Aurora. Who are you?" Silence followed for a few seconds. Then the voice replied, slower this time. "We are those who remember. We are those who watch. We come because you called." The crew exchanged looks of confusion. Those who remember. Those who watch. None of it made sense. The captain tried again. "Are you friendly? Are you here to help?" The alien voice gave no clear answer. "You are not alone. You have never been alone." That was all it said before the channel closed again. The silence was heavier than before. The crew whispered nervously, each word filled with fear and wonder. The alien ship was now fully visible outside the Aurora. It was enormous, its surface covered in glowing patterns that pulsed like a heartbeat. Then something even stranger happened. A large section of the alien hull shifted and opened. A gate, wide and bright, formed on its side. The light from the opening spilled across the Aurora's windows, bathing the human ship in a pale glow. It was like standing under the gaze of a giant. "Captain, they're opening something," the officer reported. Elias raised a hand to quiet the panic rising among the crew. His face remained calm, though his heart raced. "Hold your positions. Do not fire. Do not move. Wait." The crew obeyed, but their fear was plain. They had no weapons strong enough to fight something like this. If the aliens wanted to destroy them, it would take only a moment. The opening in the alien ship grew brighter, like a mouth about to speak. Shapes began to move inside the light. Shadows, tall and unfamiliar, shifting as if preparing to step across the gulf between ships. The crew of the Aurora held their breath. Some gripped their seats tightly. Others whispered prayers. Every eye was locked on that glowing gate. Then, a beam of light shot out from the alien ship, stretching across the dark, touching the hull of the Aurora. The mining ship trembled under the contact, but it did not break. Instead, the light formed a bridge between the two vessels, a corridor of energy connecting them. "They're trying to dock," the officer gasped. "Not with machines, but with light." The corridor pulsed, humming with strange energy. It looked unstable, yet powerful. The captain stared at it, his mind racing. "Prepare for contact," he ordered, his voice firm. His crew obeyed, though their hands trembled. No one knew what would come through that bridge of light. Moments later, shadows began to move again. This time, the shapes were clearer. Tall figures, armored, glowing faintly, started walking across the corridor of energy. They walked with confidence, with purpose, and without fear. The crew of the Aurora fell silent. Every second felt like the breath before a storm. The first of the alien figures reached the end of the corridor. It stepped onto the Aurora's deck, its form fully revealed under the ship's weak lights. The sight stole the breath from every human in the room. Tall, strange, powerful, and yet, carrying no weapon in its hands. The bridge of the Aurora filled with silence so heavy it felt alive. The aliens had arrived. The humans had called for help. Now, the answer was here. And it was unlike anything they had ever imagined. The figure that stepped onto the deck of the Aurora made the air feel heavy. Every crew member held their breath, their eyes fixed on the alien who had just crossed the bridge of light. The being was tall, much taller than a human, wrapped in smooth armor that glowed with faint lines of energy. Its movements were calm and controlled, not rushed or threatening, but there was something about its presence that sent shivers down the human spines. Behind it, more figures appeared, each walking slowly, each stepping with the same balance and strength. They moved like soldiers, yet they carried no weapons. The corridor of light behind them pulsed as if alive, holding open the strange path between the two ships. Captain Elias stepped forward, his face hard and steady, though his heart beat faster than he wanted to admit. His crew stood frozen behind him, their eyes wide, their hands ready but useless. The captain raised his voice, clear and strong. "This is Captain Elias of the human ship Aurora. Identify yourselves." The first alien stopped in front of him. It tilted its head slightly, studying him as if measuring something unseen. Then, with a voice both strange and familiar, it spoke. The sound echoed through the room, deep and smooth, yet perfectly understandable. "We know your kind. Long ago, your people called to us." The words froze the air. Every human on the deck stared, unsure if they had heard correctly. The alien was speaking English again, with no delay, no hesitation, as if it had always known the language. Confusion rippled through the crew. Long ago. Humans had never met these beings before. Elias narrowed his eyes. "That is impossible. Humanity has never crossed paths with your kind. We would know." The alien did not flinch. Instead, it raised one of its armored hands. Something glimmered within its grasp. Slowly, It extended the object forward, letting the humans see. Gasps filled the deck. In its hand was something small, something simple, but something undeniably human. A metal badge, scratched and worn, but with letters etched into its surface. The crew leaned closer. The letters were clear. UNS Dauntless. It was the name of an ancient human ship, one lost centuries ago in the first age of deep exploration. Records said the Dauntless had vanished into the void, never found again. And yet here was proof, in the hand of an alien who claimed to have known humanity long ago. The alien's voice was calm, steady, and strangely patient. We fought beside your ancestors. We remember your strength. But time has erased your history. You have forgotten. We have not. The bridge of the Aurora was silent, filled with the weight of those words. The crew shifted uncomfortably, disbelief written on their faces. Could it be true? Had humanity once fought a war in the stars, a war so old it was buried under time and silence? Elias tried to keep his voice even. If what you say is true, then tell us, why are you here now? Why answer our call? The alien lowered its head slightly, almost like a bow. Because your signal was heard. Because danger follows those who speak into the dark. You are not safe. A murmur ran through the crew. Fear and curiosity twisted together in their hearts. They wanted to believe these beings had come to help, but every word carried a warning. Elias pressed on. What danger? Who follows us? For the first time, the alien's voice shifted, its calm tone edged with something colder. The hunters. They will come. They always come when they hear the call of man. The words hit the crew like a blow. Hunters. The idea was simple but terrifying. The alien said it with certainty, as if it was a truth written into the stars themselves. One of the younger crew members spoke without thinking. You mean, they've hunted us before? The alien turned its gaze toward her. Yes. Many times. Before your kind forgot. Before your history was broken. You have faced them. You have bled because of them. And you will again. The crew shivered at the quiet certainty of the alien's words. Elias forced himself to stand tall. He could not show fear now, not with his people watching. If these hunters come, will you fight with us? Or did you come only to bring warnings? The alien studied him for a moment before replying. We do not bring warnings. We bring remembrance. You were not made to beg for help. You were made to rise. The hunters will come, but you will not face them alone. Not this time. Its words filled the room like a storm. The humans felt both fear and a strange fire growing inside them. If what the alien said was true, then humanity had been something greater once. Something fierce, something powerful. And now, perhaps, they had a chance to become that again. Elias slowly nodded. Then show us. Show us what you mean. The alien stepped closer, the badge of the lost Dauntless still glowing faintly in its hand. Its towering form loomed over the captain, but its voice was quiet, almost like a whisper meant only for him. We will show you. But remember this, you called for help. Others heard as well. And not all who answer mean to save you. Silence fell again, heavy and sharp. The alien's words sank into every heart. They had reached for hope, but hope had pulled something far larger into their world. The crew stood still, knowing the meaning of the alien's warning. Somewhere in the dark, others were already coming. And they were not friends. The bridge of the Aurora was filled with silence after the alien's last words. The crew stood frozen, each mind heavy with questions and fears. Captain Elias kept his gaze steady on the tall figure before him. The alien still held the human badge in its armored hand, the faint letters of UNS Dauntless shining under the weak lights of the ship. It was proof of something impossible, proof that humanity's past was not what they believed. The alien finally spoke again, its voice deep and calm. Your kind has forgotten the truth. You believe you are young in the stars, but you are not. Long ago, before your histories were broken, Humans walked among the stars with strength and fire. You were warriors, feared and respected. The hunters learned to fear you. But then, you vanished. The crew shifted uneasily, glancing at one another. The youngest officer shook her head in disbelief. That can't be true. Our history is clear. Humanity only left Earth a few centuries ago. We've never fought alien wars. We've never had enemies in space. The alien turned its glowing eyes toward her. That is the history you were allowed to keep. Much was taken from you. Much was hidden. Time, war, and silence buried what you once were. Captain Elias clenched his fists. If what you say is true, then who erased our history? Why would anyone hide it from us? The alien paused, as if searching for the right words. Then it spoke, slower than before. Because humanity became too dangerous. The hunters feared you. The others envied you. When the Great War ended, your kind was broken. The stars agreed that humans should forget. And so, you were cast back into the shadows of your own world. Your memory was cut, your stories erased, your power sealed. You grew again, but only as children. The weight of those words struck the crew like a storm. The idea that their own history had been stolen, that their ancestors had once been warriors among the stars, was too vast to accept easily. The engineer muttered under his breath, This is madness." But deep inside, even madness carried a spark of possibility. Elias took a deep breath, his voice firm. "If we were warriors once, then why answer us now? Why come back after all this time?" The alien lowered the badge of the Dauntless, holding it close to its chest. "Because you called. And because the hunters never stopped searching. Every time you cry out into the dark, they hear. They come. They remember the taste of human war. They will come again. And this time, they mean to finish what they began." Fear rippled through the crew. The hunters were no longer just a story. They were real, and they were coming. The youngest officer whispered, We can't fight them. We don't even know how. Look at us, we're miners, not soldiers." The alien's head tilted slightly. "That is what you believe. But within you lies the echo of what your kind once was. You are not weak. You are asleep. We are here to wake you." Its words carried a strange fire, and though the crew still trembled, they could feel something stirring in their hearts. The alien stepped closer, its glowing presence filling the deck. "Your people once fought with weapons you cannot imagine. Ships that burned brighter than suns. Armies that stood against the endless dark. Humanity was not prey. Humanity was a storm. But your memory was stolen. Now you must choose. Do you remain as you are, waiting for others to protect you? Or do you rise again, as your ancestors did?" Elias felt every eye turn to him. His crew looked for answers, for direction. He could feel their fear, but he could also feel the spark of hope hidden beneath it. His voice was calm but heavy with resolve. "If the hunters are coming, then we cannot run. We cannot hide. We must be ready." The alien nodded slowly. "Then you must learn. We will teach you what you have forgotten. But know this, knowledge has a cost. Once you remember, the hunters will know. They will feel it, like fire across the stars. And they will come faster." A heavy silence followed. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Was it better to remain blind and hidden, or to rise and bring the hunters down upon them sooner? The choice was dangerous either way. Elias lifted his chin. "We cannot fear the truth. If humanity was meant to rise, then we will rise again. Teach us. Show us who we were." For the first time, the alien's tone shifted, almost like approval. "So be it." From its armor, it drew a small device, a sphere that glowed with shifting light. It placed the sphere on the deck, and at once, beams of energy stretched into the air. The crew gasped as images filled the space around them. Giant ships with burning weapons, soldiers in shining armor, banners of war carried across the stars. Humans, but not as they knew themselves. Taller, stronger, fearless. The crew stood in awe as the images showed battles against monstrous alien fleets, battles where humans fought side by side with other species, battles where the hunters were driven back again and again. The alien's voice echoed through the vision. This is who you were. This is who you can be again. But the hunters will not allow it. They will come. And when they come, you must be ready. The images faded, leaving the deck in silence once more. The crew looked shaken, but a strange fire now burned in their eyes. The youngest officer whispered, almost to herself. We were warriors. Elias placed a hand on the console, steadying himself. His heart was heavy, but his spirit was firm. Then we will be warriors again. The alien bowed its head slowly, the badge of the dauntless still shining faintly in its hand. Then your awakening begins. But remember, Captain, your call was not heard by us alone. The words struck deep, filling the bridge with dread. Somewhere out there, others had heard the same signal. The hunters were coming. The bridge of the Aurora was heavy with silence after the alien's warning. The crew tried to understand the images they had seen, visions of ancient wars, of humans standing as warriors among the stars. But even with that fire burning in their hearts, fear returned quickly when they remembered the last words spoken. Their signal had been heard not just by allies, but by enemies. The hunters. Captain Elias stood straight, his hands resting on the edge of the console, his mind working faster than his voice. He could feel the weight of every eye on him, waiting for guidance. He finally spoke, his voice quiet but steady. What do we know about these hunters? Tell us everything. The alien leader turned its glowing gaze toward him. They are older than you. They live for the hunt. To them, humans are not people but prey. Long ago, they learned to fear your strength, but they never stopped chasing you. When your history was broken, they rejoiced. They thought your fire was gone forever. But the moment you spoke into the dark, they heard. And now they come. The crew shifted uneasily. The youngest officer hugged her arms close to her chest. How many? How soon? The alien's reply was slow, heavy. They are many. Their fleets spread across the stars like shadows. And now they are closer than you think. As if on cue, the radar officer gasped. Captain. Multiple signals detected. Closing fast. The crew rushed to their stations, fear filling their voices. On the screen, glowing dots began to appear one by one, then in groups, until the map was crowded with them. The hunters were already near. Elias clenched his jaw, forcing himself to stay calm. How long until they arrive? Minutes, the officer replied. The alien's voice cut through the panic. Your call has drawn them. They come to end what they began long ago. A heavy dread settled over the crew. The Aurora was a mining ship, not a warship. Its hull was weak, its weapons small. They had no chance in a direct fight. The engineer slammed his fist against the console. We can't fight that. We'll be torn apart in seconds. Elias looked at him, his face sharp. Then we will not fight alone. He turned to the alien. You said you would help us. Can your ship stop them? The alien leader was silent for a moment, then gave a slow nod. We can fight, but the hunters are many. If you remain as you are, you will die. But if you choose to rise, if you remember, then together we may survive. Elias did not hesitate. Then show us what to do. Teach us. We don't have time. The alien raised its hand, and the glowing patterns on its armor pulsed brighter. A wave of energy rippled through the air. The humans felt their consoles respond as if touched by unseen hands. Systems that had been broken sparked back to life. Screens lit up with new codes, new symbols, information flooding into the ship systems. The crew stared in shock as their weak mining vessel began to change. What's happening? The engineer shouted. The alien's voice was calm. We are unlocking what was hidden. Your ship carries old designs buried in its core. Long ago, your kind left seeds in your machines, waiting for the day you would remember. That day has come. Panels glowed, controls shifted, and weapons that had never existed on the Aurora suddenly appeared on the screens. The mining lasers extended, reshaped, and became cannons powered by strange energy. The shields, once too weak to stop even a small impact, grew brighter, stronger, ready to absorb the fire of war. The crew gasped as their dying vessel became something more. Elias gripped the console tightly, his voice firm. Crew of the Aurora, you are no longer miners. You are soldiers. The hunters are coming, and we will not run. We will stand. His words lit a fire in the hearts of his people. Fear still lived inside them, but it burned alongside something stronger now. Hope. The radar beeped again, louder, sharper. The hostile signals were almost on them. The screen showed dozens of ships, sharp and dark, moving with predatory speed. The hunters had arrived. The communications panel crackled, then a new voice filled the room. It was cold, harsh, and cruel. We hear you, little humans. We smelled your fear across the stars. This time, there will be no escape. The crew froze at the sound of the enemy's voice. It was not calm like the Allies, but sharp and cutting, like claws scraping across metal. The alien leader beside Elias spoke with quiet certainty. They always speak with pride before the kill. Do not listen to their poison. Listen only to the fire in your own hearts. The hunters' fleet appeared outside the windows now, their ships dark and sharp like blades. They moved in tight formation, their lights red and cruel, their weapons already glowing with energy. The humans stared, hearts pounding, as death drew near. The captain raised his hand. Shields up. Weapons ready. For a moment, the crew hesitated. They were miners, not fighters. But when they looked at their captain, they saw resolve stronger than fear. One by one, voices answered him. Shields up. Weapons ready. The Aurora shook as its new systems locked into place. For the first time, the ship felt alive, not as a broken miner, but as something more, something powerful. The alien leader's voice rumbled through the deck. The hunters believe you are prey. Show them they are wrong. Show them what humanity once was. Outside, the enemy fleet spread wide, ready to strike. Their leader's voice filled the comms again, mocking and cruel. Tonight, humans die. You should have stayed forgotten. Elias narrowed his eyes, his hand hovering over the command console. His voice was steady, cold with determination. You wanted us forgotten. But we remember now. The crew braced themselves as the first hunter ships broke formation and charged. The battle for survival was about to begin. The hunters came fast, their ships cutting through the dark like blades. Red lights glowed from their hulls, and weapons charged with deadly energy. The crew of the Aurora gripped their stations, hearts pounding, eyes fixed on the screens. They had never faced a battle like this. For most of them, this was the first time they had seen true warships, and now those warships were hunting them. The alien ally stood tall at the center of the bridge, its glowing armor pulsing with light. Do not fear. You are not helpless. Your ancestors built for war. Their fire lives inside you. Let it burn now. Captain Elias raised his voice, steady and strong. All crew, prepare for combat. Shields to full. Weapons locked. The ship rumbled as its new systems roared to life. Energy surged through the hull, shields flared with a bright glow, and mining lasers, now transformed into powerful cannons, rotated toward the approaching fleet. For the first time since their engines had failed, the Aurora felt alive again. The first wave of hunter fire struck. Beams of red light smashed against the shields, sending shockwaves through the ship. The crew staggered, gripping their stations as alarms screamed. Shields holding, the officer shouted, his voice tight with fear and relief. Return fire, Elias ordered. The cannons lit the void with bright streams of energy. The first hunter ship was hit directly. It spun wildly, flames spilling across its hull, before exploding into fragments of burning metal. The crew gasped. They had destroyed a hunter ship. The hunters were not invincible. Yes, the alien said, its voice like thunder. This is who you are. This is who you were. Strike again. The Aurora's weapons fired once more, blasting into the enemy fleet. Another hunter ship fell, its remains drifting like broken teeth across the stars. But the hunters did not retreat. They closed in, their formation tightening, their numbers overwhelming. Dozens of ships circled the Aurora, firing in deadly bursts. The shields groaned, their light flickering under the heavy assault. Sparks burst from the panels as systems overloaded. Shields at 70%, the officer cried. Elias gritted his teeth. Hold steady. Target the lead ships. Break their formation. The crew obeyed, focusing fire on the hunter vessels at the front. Explosions lit the void as 2 more hunters were destroyed. But the enemy pressed harder, their voices taunting across the comms. You fight well for prey. But you are few. You cannot stand against the pack. Laughter echoed in the speakers, cruel and mocking. Fear rippled through the crew, but Elias's voice cut through it. Ignore them. Focus on your fire. We are not prey. We are survivors. We are human. His words struck deep, filling the crew with strength. Hands stopped shaking. Voices grew firm. The cannons roared again, bright blasts tearing into the hunters. One by one, enemy ships fell, but still more came, closing in like wolves around a wounded beast. The Aurora shuddered violently as another barrage struck. Lights flickered, consoles sparked, and the youngest officer cried out. Shields down to 40%. Panic threatened to return, but the alien ally raised its hand. Energy pulsed from its armor, flowing into the ship like a surge of fire. The shields flared bright again, stronger than before. You are not alone, the alien said. We stand with you. Strike now. With renewed strength, the Aurora fired again and again. Each shot burned through the darkness, each explosion a reminder that humans were not finished. Yet the battle was far from over. The hunters shifted their tactics. Instead of attacking one by one, they moved together, their ships forming a deadly arc energy built at their fronts, glowing brighter, growing into a single massive strike. The crew's eyes widened as the radar screamed. Captain, they're charging something. A combined weapon. Elias's jaw tightened. If that hits us, it will, the alien interrupted, its voice sharp. Unless you stop them now. Elias turned to his crew, his voice firm. Target the center of their formation. All weapons, fire. The Aurora unleashed everything it had. Beams of energy streaked into the hunters, smashing through the ships at the core of their arc. 2 were destroyed instantly, their explosions breaking the pattern. The combined strike collapsed before it could fire. The hunters reeled, their formation broken. Now! Elias shouted. Press the attack. The crew obeyed, firing again and again. Explosions filled the void as more hunters fell. For the first time, the enemy pulled back slightly, their arrogant voices on the comms now edged with anger instead of laughter. This is not possible. Humans are weak. Humans are forgotten. Elias's voice answered, hard and cold. Not anymore. The battle raged on, ships darting, shields flaring, cannons roaring. The crew of the Aurora, once miners and engineers, now fought like soldiers. They shouted with each kill, their fear burned into fire, their despair turned into defiance. The hunters had expected prey. Instead, they found a storm. But the fight was not yet won. The radar officer's voice broke through the chaos. Captain! More signals incoming. Another fleet is approaching. The bridge fell silent for a moment. Another fleet. Were they more hunters, or something else? Elias's eyes locked on the screen, his heart heavy with the weight of battle. Prepare for contact, he said quietly. Outside, the stars burned with fire and wreckage, but the fight was far from over. The awakening of humanity had only just begun. The bridge was tense as the new signals grew closer. The The crew of the Aurora held their breath, wondering if this was another wave of hunters coming to finish them. The radar beeped faster, showing dozens of ships on approach. "Captain," the officer whispered, "there are many. Too many for us to fight again." Fear settled like a heavy weight on every heart. Elias kept his eyes locked on the screen, refusing to show his fear. "We will face them, whoever they are," he said. But deep inside, he knew the truth. Their shields were weak, their weapons overheating. If another fleet of hunters arrived, the Aurora would not survive. The alien ally stepped forward, its glowing armor pulsing brighter. "Wait," it said. "These are not hunters. The energy is different. Look closer." The crew leaned forward, studying the radar. The patterns of the approaching fleet were not sharp and red like the hunters. They were brighter, more balanced, and carried a strange rhythm. A voice came through the comms, deep and steady. "This is the Vanguard. We have heard the call. Stand firm, humans. You are not alone." The bridge erupted in shock. Human voices, clear, strong, and certain, echoed across the speakers. Another fleet of humans, not broken, not forgotten, but alive. Tears filled the eyes of the youngest officer. "There are others. We're not the last." Outside the windows, the new fleet appeared. Their ships were vast and powerful, shining with silver light, their designs ancient but far beyond anything the Aurora had carried. They moved with discipline, spreading into formation with ease. The hunters, who had circled the Aurora like predators, paused in their attack. Their comms hissed with anger. "Impossible. The humans were destroyed. You cannot be here." The Vanguard replied with thunder. "We were never destroyed. We watched. We waited. And now, we rise again." The alien ally turned to Elias. "Do you see now? Your people were never gone. They waited for the right moment. And your call brought them." Elias felt his chest tighten, a mix of pride and disbelief. He turned to his crew, his voice stronger than ever. "We are not the last. Humanity lives. And together, we will win." The hunters roared in anger, their fleet pressing forward, determined to crush this new resistance. The Vanguard ships moved swiftly, their weapons blazing. Bright lances of energy cut through the hunters, tearing them apart in great flashes of fire. The battle shifted at once. The hunters were no longer the predators. They were prey. The Aurora joined the attack, fighting beside the Vanguard. The crew fired with all their strength, every blast tearing into the hunters who had once hunted them. The bridge filled with the sounds of fire, explosions, and victory. The hunters cried out across the comms, their voices no longer mocking but desperate. "You cannot return. You cannot rise." But the humans answered with fire, and the hunters fell one after another. At last, the remaining hunter ships broke formation. Their leader's voice came through, furious and afraid. "This is not the end. You cannot hide from us. We will return, stronger, endless." The hunters fled into the darkness, their ships vanishing one by one. The battlefield grew quiet, filled only with drifting wreckage and the shining light of the Vanguard fleet. The crew of the Aurora slumped back in their seats, exhausted but alive. They had survived. They had fought. And they had won. The comms lit up again, and a face appeared on the screen. A human commander, dressed in silver armor, with sharp eyes and a calm voice. "Captain Elias, crew of the Aurora, you have done more than survive. You have awakened the fire of humanity. Your call has reached us all. And now, we will rise together." Elias swallowed hard, struggling to find words. "We thought we were alone," he said softly. The commander shook his head. "You were never alone. Humanity has many scattered children, hidden across the stars. But you lit the signal. You reminded us of who we are." The alien ally beside Elias bowed its head, glowing brighter. "The fire has returned. The hunters will fear it once more." The crew looked around at each other, smiles breaking through tears. For the first time since their engines failed, hope filled their hearts. Not just for survival, but for something greater. A future. Elias stood tall, his voice steady. Then let this be the beginning. The hunters think we are prey, but they will learn the truth. Humanity is not finished. Humanity has returned. Outside the window, the vanguard ships spread across the stars, their lights shining bright. The wreckage of the hunters drifted silently, a reminder of the price of underestimating humankind. The Aurora, once a broken mining ship, had become the spark that reignited a sleeping fire. And now, that fire would burn across the galaxy. The alien ally looked out at the stars and spoke quietly, its voice filled with awe. You were forgotten. But now, you will be remembered. Not as prey. Not as lost. But as hunters of the hunters. The crew sat in silence, the weight of those words filling them with pride. Humanity was no longer hiding. Humanity was no longer broken. The call for help had been answered, not with pity, but with power. Beyond imagination, a new chapter had begun.